Charles. This is part of the creator series that we've been doing, just highlighting some of the creatives that we work with, to give people just a little bit of a better vision as to what it even means to be a creative, the challenges, the trials and tribulations, and some of the positives. So, like I said, excited to have you here. We've been working together for 5 years now, almost. I think it's been
5 years.
almost that long since we started back in the day working on our first program together. And back then you were very much into your photography, but it was relatively new for you, making the decision to leave your corporate IT engineering degree behind, leaving potential corporate IT jobs behind to pursue your passion for photography. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, what was the moment that you decided, or you knew, I have to abandon this thing that I've been doing and focus on what I really want to do?
I mean, all of this IT engineering is something I've been doing like a bit before photography. I was new to the university, and my photography started to pick up a little bit. And since I was going to Montreal, that's where I met other photographers, and we were going, after my classes, we're going outside rooftoping and then like doing photos onto the underground. And I really liked it, but I've always had this goal to at least finish the degree before trying to do something else. And throughout my engineering degree, my photography business really started to pop. I started to have contracts on the influencer side as well, but also on the commercial photography side. And I was running both at the same time. And when I was doing my internships in IT engineering, that's where I said, this is not for me. Finished, graduated my degree, and never worked a day in the field because my photography business was already kicked off. So it's not like if I waited for finish my degree to have Sting move into the photography space. I was running them in parallel, already making some money off of it. And when I started to focus 100% on photography, that's where everything took off.
Was there one moment that you knew? Like, was there a single photo or a single event or a single day that you knew, geez, like, even though I spent all this time doing this degree and getting this amazing internship at a really well-known company, I still want to leave and focus on what I was doing, what I want to do?
There was not a single moment. I think it was just a decision I had to make. I think it's just add all the opportunities that I got throughout my degree and envision myself into the future. That's what I wanted to do, is become really a content creator, a photographer, and now a YouTuber. We're going to talk about it later.
Yeah.
But no single moment. Is just adding up all of these small opportunities and just make the right decision for my future.
Off script a little bit, one of the things that you mentioned is that parallel path. So you didn't make an immediate switch to content creation and photography. No. You were kind of doing both at the same time. I think that's really important to talk about, because a lot of people that are trying to make the decision about leaving their job or pursuing their passion, whether it's being a photographer, being, an influencer or creative, or even owning their own business, they struggle with that idea of like, when is the right time and how do I do it without jeopardizing my livelihood? About that, how important do you think that is for people when they're making the decision to like have that parallel path?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the parallel part lets you do way more at the same time, because when you recover mentally, let's say from studying, that's where in parallel I was training. So one thing is going down, the other is going up. And then when I was recovering from training, I could focus on creative side. And then when I was recovering from creative side, I was doing the studies thing. So it's always jumping from one passion to the other, while the other are like recovering, and while the other are just pulling, because you cannot do one thing 100% of the time. You have to switch it up. And I think is the key to keep staying in love with something, is to not do it too much. So that's why the parallel was so important for me, because I could just keep growing in all of these aspects of my life without like downtime in one of them.
Because at the beginning, sometimes you have to make decisions and not work with some brands and not do certain partnerships because they just don't feel right for you. But when you don't have any other source of income, that's when you start to get into situations where you're doing things that don't feel right for you either, especially early on. So that makes sense. But let's talk about this crazy adventure that you were on. I just saw the video. We'll link it November 19th when it comes out on your YouTube. I mean, I wish it was a Netflix documentary because I would watch it. It looked insane. So tell me a little bit about this Hawaiian cycling trip for people that don't know, that don't follow you, what you were doing and how it started, and what you ended up accomplishing.
Yeah, and I think maybe before going down to this Hawaii movie, I think it's important for me to branch out that how I split my when I went through this YouTube cycling journey, become a YouTuber from, let's say, 5 years on Instagram only, photography, and to move to there is because at the start of the pandemic, all my photography gigs were on hold, all my contracts were postponed. So I've always been a YouTube user. Like, I've watched YouTube every single day for the last 10 years. And that's where I decided to jump into that YouTube journey. And at first I wanted to do, and I've tried in the past, is this YouTube for like photography related. So a bit like we all know, like those Toronto YouTubers like Peter McKinnon, Chris Au, Matsi Apoyas, like I kind of tried this format and didn't really work out for me. I didn't like it. But when I figured out that I'm a very decent cyclist, I know how to make videos, and I put those together, and I went to that cycling niche on YouTube. And over the last year, it grew now to nearly 18,000 subscribers on YouTube. And through that, that's where I've built this project to go to Hawaii and make a movie out of it.
Yeah, so tell us about the actual experience. I think, I don't want to misspell it. Is it Muana Key volcano?
Yeah, Muana Key volcano. So that volcano is it's the highest. It's one of the highest roads in the world, basically. It goes all the way up to 4,200 meters of elevation. Start from sea level, and it's a huge climb. And I did it by the gravel route. And to do this project, had like a full team with me. So we had a driver, we had a videographer that I hired to do it. I had my girlfriend who helped out with nutrition and all the food and the support. And I had another buddy of mine there to do that climbing with me. And we decided to make the best cycling YouTube video in the world that hasn't been done. And this production quality hasn't been reached yet into cycling. So this is why we're super excited to have it live, the full movie, an hour and 10 on YouTube on November 19. But maybe this will lead to future Netflix deal, Hulu, Amazon Prime. I don't know. I'm going to use this movie as a pitch for future movies coming up next year.
Netflix, you hear that? If you're listening, this is your chance to get in on the ground floor. But honestly, all jokes aside, it looked insane. I can't even imagine. Like, I know that even cycling, a little bit casually, the pain that you feel in your legs when you're cycling is unlike anything else that I've ever experienced. I can't even imagine what it was like for you. Those gravel roads looked insane, and you weren't riding a mountain bike. I don't want to ruin the surprise here, but like a straight up road bike, from what I understand. It's called a road bike, correct?
It's a gravel bike, so this is like a new trend. So it's basically a road bike with bigger tires.
Got it. But they were still pretty thin. It looked crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that. One of the things that you mentioned that I think is important for creators. You had this idea originally of launching a YouTube, the likes of Peter McKinnon or an Alan Palander or some of these guys that are, in that space. Obviously, there's a ton of people trying to do that. There's a lot of saturation there, which holds true for a lot of industries that creators are looking to get into. If you're, a beauty creator, you want to get into the beauty space, there's thousands of people like you. If you're a fashion influencer, there's thousands of people like you. One of the things that we talk a lot about when we work with creators is teaching them how to niche down. To that very specific place. So obviously for you, would you say that that's a big part of the reason why you've been able to grow your account, by almost 18,000 followers in a very short period of time? Do you think that niching down had a lot to do with it?
Absolutely. I feel that there's a lot of saturated market on YouTube, but there's also those smaller space where there's already a few people doing it, but when I decided to jump on it with my background in photography and videography, I already brought up a new standard of production quality that wasn't really there yet. So I think this is why I've grew so much over the last year. Is I've used all my knowledge and my skills from photography and videography to bring this to YouTube and the cycling scene. And a lot of people comments like, how do you only have 15,000 subscribers? Because my production art is on another level from all the other cycling YouTubers. And this is what's put me apart from these guys. And this is why my content is growing. And the How I Movie is just going to elevate that to the next level. Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about like that piece of it that you mentioned is, learning to niche down with something you did on your own. Are there any other pieces of guidance that you wish you had gotten when you started? Whether it was before we were working together or after you signed to Counterculture, very early on in your photography career, is there any advice that you wish someone had given you then that would have helped you today?
Yes, absolutely. I feel that to make a living in passion, it's all about connections and knowing the right people and creating those relationships with people that will help you grow over time. So for example, here, when I decided to niche down to the cycling scene, I needed to create contact into the industry, right? So that's where I've started to reach out to a lot of people and blank emails. And you have no idea how, not blank email, what it's called, a cold email. One single cold email can go really a long way into a relationship. It all starts to go slow. So this advice that I would have to give, let's say, myself when I started is, don't hesitate to reach out more and build a little pitch deck with numbers and super precise and concise. Send it all over the place. Be annoying as you need to be, because a single person can really go a long way into a relationship. And it has been proven to me very successful because those cold emails build good relationship. And I wouldn't be here without if I would have been doing them.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think that's part of, even obviously when we started Counterculture as an agency, I knew a few people in the industry, but certainly a lot of it was just reaching out to people, having conversations, building relationships, getting to know people. And I think sometimes people try to find the shortcuts. They assume if they grow their account, the brands will come. And that can be true in some industries, but definitely not always the case. And I think it's the relationship piece of this business is really important. And that's probably one of the biggest drawbacks for everyone that's involved in the industry is there's so many platforms that connect, influencers directly with brands. And that takes away, it's almost like they're treating the influencers and the creators like billboards. Great advice. If you want to work with a brand, if you want to work with an agency, if you want to work with a creator, if you want to do a collab, just reach out, send them an email. Just get used to the idea that a lot of people will ignore those emails at the beginning, not because they know who you are, because they don't know who you are, and it's easy for them to ignore it. But once you find those connections, I think they last. So tell me a little bit about, how you, as a photographer, try to differentiate the work that you do, given that there is, anyone that can go out and buy a point and shoot camera nowadays can say that they're a photographer. And, how do you differentiate yourself from that space like that?
That's a good question. I feel, yes, there's thousands of photographers out there, and why people and brands reach out to me to work with me, it's I feel there's a few reasons. First, I deliver products, quality products, and always on time. I'm reply to email every time I get an email from a brand, I reply in the next hour. I'm super always on the point with communications. And especially when a product is delivered, if the client asks for revision and changing an edit, I do it I stop everything I do and I go do it. And this really builds this long-term relationship with a client and differentiate me from other photographers out there, is because I've heard it sometimes their photographers show late on set. They don't deliver the photos in time, and then their campaign is delayed, or they did not quite like how they were working. So I feel that it's all about work ethics, and this is what my IT engineering degree brought me, is this engineering work ethic is really try to be as as on the ball as possible, and not work like an artist, work like an engineer, and really works in the commercial space.
Yeah, I think that's for sure something that's lacking in, creatives that have traditionally not worked in, professional or corporate settings before. Certainly that email etiquette, that communication style can hurt them sometimes because they're delayed getting things back to you, et cetera, So that's good advice. what's your favorite collab to date? What's the favorite influencer program that you've done? And you don't need to say one specifically because of the ones we've worked on together.
Yeah.
Just be honest. What's your favorite?
I feel LG. It's because it's been running. LG has been trusting me since the G6. We were in 2016 with the first collab, and every year they were renewing me, and I was the only one who were renewing. So there was this first batch of influencers for the first year, and then the second year I was the only one, and then there was a few more, and then the third year I was again the only one. So my heart is to LG, man. I still use their product every single day. They're the screens, the phone. There might be another campaign coming soon, but it's not a single collab. I feel it's because it's a long-term relationship, and this is what I strive into this industry is long-term with clients and with brands, because that's what is the most authentic and organic.
Have enjoyed the relationship that we've had working together, because at the end of the day, when I'm working with a brand, I'm putting my reputation on the line. And what I love about the relationship that we have is that I'm never afraid to recommend you for anything, because I know that you're going to deliver. I know you're going to be professional. I know that if the client has a request, you're going to make sure that you're going to do everything you can to meet it. And I think that's another piece of advice for people is, not having an ego in this space is probably the single, most or least talked about trait that you can have. At the end of the day, again, there's a human being on the other end that has a boss to report to, and when you're late delivering photos, they have to tell their boss, who has to tell their clients. So those things are really, really important and unspoken. Now, we know your favorite client so far, favorite collaboration so far. What's your dream collab? Well, if you could pick any brand in the world to work with, who would it be?
A good question.
Let's put it out into the universe. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have this dream collab, this dream brand, because I don't really want to have a dream, because once you achieve it, and then what's next? Like it might, will I lose passion for photography because I've reached that dream client? Maybe. Then I'll be all right. Yeah. Fuck it, I'm out of this industry. I got my dream. So I don't feel like I settle on this one single dream. It's just a matter of always doing cool stuff, and that's why I always come back to photography and all those Instagram campaigns. Is I love creating content, and I just want to create as much as possible for myself to enjoy, and then to other people too. Because at the end of the day, I don't create content that I don't want to do. If there's a campaign that I don't like, I will not create a content. I'll say, all right, we're not doing it, and then I move on to the next one.
Appreciate your time as always. I'm excited for you to release your documentary on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of people will really enjoy and appreciate it as well. Is there any last pieces of advice you want to leave people that are looking to become photographers, anyone who's already in the space, as of a final note?
I feel it's final note is as not cheesy as it sounds, but it's all about grinding. It's all about I've put in, I don't know, thousands of hours in building my relationship. So it's all about creating those connections, as we talked earlier, and it's working on the week. I'm never off. I'm always doing something, either on the weekend if it's not working on the movie, and then 9 to 5, say during a day, I do my emails, and then there's always something, but it doesn't feel like work because I wouldn't do anything else in life basically than what I'm doing right now. And I feel that branching out in two industries has been very good to me. So as of right now, the photography business is booming, but the YouTube cycling stuff is also doing very good. So once one can go low for the winter time, the other one can go high. So always diversify, have multiple source of revenues, not rely only on one client, because that client will be gone one day. And it happened to me. I had huge clients. Lululemon booked me for 150 photo shoots in two years lapse time, and now it's gone. They don't do it, they don't hire me anymore. They don't do marketing in Montreal anymore. So never really lie into one client, or always diversify, create relationships, and be on the ball with your communications and your work. For sure. For those who want to check out my work, Refine Moment that you see here, that's the photography handle, but there's Charles Ouimet, so my full name right there. That's the second Instagram. They're really separate. That's another one for cycling. And Charles Ouimet on YouTube, that's where you can find all of those cycling videos and challenges, reviews, and soon the movie.
Like, subscribe, and comment. All right,
Like,
guys.
subscribe,
Thank
and
you.
comment. Yeah.